It is Tuesday, October the 7th, man, and Walker Ben for another episode of Spoon Fed Sports. Man, and this, for me, it's all love, and it's something that I just enjoy to do, right? There's a lot of people on social media who do it for money. Me, I just love talking about sports. This is my passion. And this is my passion, right? So, you ever want to comment, you ever want to come on, link up, whatever you want to do, collab, I'm all for it. But let's get into that game last night, man. Chiefs and Jaguars, 31-28. Jaguars in a comeback victory. Absolutely stunning. I thought for the first half, Kansas City pretty much dominated the game. Some couple things happened last night. The victory last weekend for Kansas City is looking a little less impressive, which the media is going to overhype, right? I shouldn't say the media when I'm part of it, but mainstream media, right? They overhype the Chiefs a lot. And I think this was another perfect example. The Baltimore Ravens have been struggling already coming into that game. Beating the Ravens is not an impressive thing to do. The Houston Texans just put 40 on them. That's the norm. That's what all teams do. So back to the Chiefs, right? They go into that game last night against the Jaguars, looking to get on a winning streak, and to my surprise, the offense wasn't the issue for Kansas City. Defensively, they struggled. Trevor Lawrence was able to go 18 for 25, 225 yards, touchdown, one just abysmal interception. That it almost cost them the game. But on the ground, Trevor tore. If you watched Trevor Lawrence back at Clemson, you understood that he was sneaky dual threat quarterback. He could use his legs to extend plays and to make plays. Last night, not only was he extending plays with his legs, he won the game with his legs. Two rushing touchdowns for Trevor last night. Could have been three, but another boneheaded play right at the goal line where Trevor attempts to extend the ball over the goal line and gets knocked out. And that sort of thing can happen. Um, ETN, 12 carries, 49 yards. A lot of parlays was probably missed because we had him at that line at 50. And my man finished at 49. Cost us a couple $100, I'm pretty sure, last night. And then when you go to the passing game, man, like I said, Trevor had 221. They finally got Brian Thomas Jr. going, right? 4 for 80. They finally got Travis Hunter going, 3 for 64. A spectacular catch in traffic from Travis Hunter. Travis played 60 snaps last night. He played on the offensive side. He played on the defensive side. And I'm 100% with Coach Prime on this. Why you draft him so high if you're not going to allow him to do what got him drafted so high? Don't make sense. He's not a pure receiver. He's not a pure DB. I believe he's a better receiver than he is DB. But if you're the Jaguars, then I look at your team, just looking at the roster, right? Parker Washington, Dommy Brown, Travis Hunter, Brian Thomas Jr. Those are your top four wide receivers. Hunter's your second best receiver. If you go to defense, you look at the DBs the Jaguars have. He's your second best DB, arguably. He should be on the field for those snaps. You can't worry about the wear down factor with Travis because this is what he's been doing his whole life. And the NFL is a different game. It is more physical. But he played DB. He's not a linebacker. He's not like Miles Jack was, for the Jags, right? He's not in the backfield and then playing line. He's not taking those types of hits. Right? He really plays two positions that require very little impact as far as physicality is concerned. So Travis Hunter absolutely needs to be on the field. Um, Patrick Mahomes, his numbers look great, and I'm a little concerned still about the Chiefs because not the passing yards, the rushing. Patrick Mahomes should not be leading the team in rushing still. 6 carries, 60 yards, and a touchdown. Kareem Hunt, 7 for 49. Pacheco, 7 carries, 36 yards. Isaiah Pacheco 2 years ago looked like he was consistently going to be 1,000+ yard running back in this league. I know injuries have slowed him down, but I believe the Chiefs, if there's one team that still considers themselves to be contenders, because I don't believe the Ravens are contenders. I think there's Buffalo, there's Kansas City, there's Jacksonville, the Chargers, the Broncos, and the Colts, right? Out of those teams, the Chiefs need to make a play for Devon Achane from the Dolphins. If they could get a legit running back who can also catch the ball out the backfield, that's what they need, right? They need that. But if you look at the breakdown, man, 90 of Mahomes' yards came to Tyquan Thornton. 3 catches, 90 yards, averaging 30 yards a catch. Basically, what the Jaguars did in the second half of this game, they basically said, we're not going to let you throw the Tyquan Thornton downfield, and we're going to make you use Kelsey, use Juju, use Hollywood Brown. And they reverted back to that old Chiefs offense, right? Because if you take those 90 away from Mahomes, that drops him down to about 220, 230 yards for the night, right? And you take those 3 pass attempts, that's 38 pass attempts. That's not a very efficient game once they made that adjustment to Tyquan Thornton. So, yeah, the Jaguars pull off the upset on Monday Night Football. Shout out to Duval. Happy for those guys. They really deserved it. I want to pivot, man, because I know we didn't get a chance to recap the NFL over the weekend. And the Eagles lost, right? And it's interesting the way the Eagles lost, right? They lost with Jalen Hurts throwing 38 passes and Saquon Barkley having 6 carries. Now, this is something that's funny because these teams they start to listen to what everyone is saying, like, hey, you're only winning because. And I'm the first to say it. I say it all the time. They only won because. But the fact is they won. And if Philly believes that they can lean on Jalen Hurts to throw the ball 30, 35, 40 times a game and win that way, they're going to have a short playoff run. They need Saquon 15 to 20 carries a game. Saquon has not even looked like himself this year. And a lot of that has to do with the lack of a passing game that Philly's had. Right? You don't have to throw it 35 times for the threat, for the defense to have to back those safeties out the box. What you have to do is be able to schematically come up with a game plan that's going to make those guys take them safeties out the box, right? Right now, Saquon's running into a brick wall. Even still, there's no excuse to have 6 carries. That's unacceptable. So now, A.J. Brown's still pissed. Because, I mean, he had a mediocre game. Saquon had 6 carries. The only player really on the offense that had a really solid game was Devontae Smith. Right? And the Eagles defense is not what the Eagles defense was last year. And that's okay. Like last year, that defense was unbelievable. Right? Excuse me. But there are some things I think in Philly that they have to figure out. They know who they are. They have an identity. That's the great thing. So it's an easy fix. Right? I don't feel like they're in a situation like most teams at this point in the year, 5 weeks in, and they're still trying to figure out who they are. They know who they are. They just have to stick to who they are. That's a big thing there. The state of college football. I had this conversation with my brother over the weekend, a couple of my other friends. I'm a big Florida State fan. Always have been growing up. My dad had me as a huge Florida State fan since the day I was born. Right? And, my brother brought something to my attention about Miami and how Miami's becoming this dominant program. Is Miami back? Right? And my simple answer to is Miami back is no. It's no. Miami has 0 conference championships since joining the ACC. I believe they joined the ACC in 2001, if I'm not mistaken. 24 years, 0 conference championships. No, you're not back. You're not back. Because last year I seen what I see from Miami right now, I saw from Miami last year. And Cam Ward is better than Carson Beck. So why would I think they're back? No, I don't think they're back. I think they're back. They haven't played a game out of the state of Florida this year. Most people don't realize that. Miami Hurricanes have not played a single football game this season outside of the state of Florida. That's like what high school teams do. But there's high school teams in Florida that travel outside the state to play. Miami hasn't left the state. So talk to me when Miami goes on the road outside of the state and beats a legit opponent. Then we can have that conversation. Going up to Tallahassee, it's a tough environment. Florida State was coming off of a loss. But there were about 2 plays that really flipped that game on top of the head. You know, Tony is a special kid at Miami, man. That guy, he can get a 3-yard pass and go hit his head on the goalpost. Not many guys can do that. But Miami's not back, in my opinion, until they win. And true Miami fans know that they're not back until they win big. Like, as a Florida State fan, I don't believe that Florida State was back in 2008, 2009. We was back when we held up that national championship trophy with Jameis Winston. Because we're about championships. We're not about being 3 or 4-0. Like, that's not back. And about consistency, like, over the course of years, right? Like, they got to run it off how Clemson ran it off and dominated the ACC, winning multiple national championships. That's what Miami and Florida State is about. It's not about being state champions. It's about being national champions, right? So this is the last piece that I want to talk about with college football, and that's NIL. And how NIL has kind of changed and shaped things and benefited some programs like a Miami, like a Texas, like an Ohio State. Like, these are schools, like a Michigan, for example, right? You think about it, where the top top high school athletes, they typically come from Texas, Florida, California. Right? So what happened, if you followed the sport in the 90s, in the 2000s, and the 2010s, Nick Saban was one of the few coaches that was able to pull kids out of South Florida and get them to come to Alabama, right? This is before NIL, right? Florida State could potentially go to California, get a quarterback, bring Tallahassee. Schools like Texas, Florida State, Miami, Florida, Georgia, USC, right? Not going to leave USC out of it. We could recruit in our state. As long as we kept guys in our state, we were good. What NIL has done is put a price tag on all these kids. So when you say, well, dang, if South Florida has all this talent, why is Miami struggling to win an ACC championship? Why have they been struggling to do all of these things? It's hard to keep that top talent at home when it's a price on it, right? Miami has the benefit, a lot of it's homegrown. South Florida has more top prospects in the state of Florida than any other part of Florida. And if you've never lived or been to Florida, you don't understand how big the state is. To get from Tallahassee, where Florida State is, down to South Florida, where the University of Miami is, it's an 8-hour drive. Just to put it in perspective, right? So in your mind, you think, okay, it's in Florida though. Like, it's no big deal. That can't be that much of a difference. It's 8 hours. It's an 8-hour ride from Tallahassee to Miami. Maybe a little more because you're going to stop. But that's how far it is. And there's a lot of top talent in South Florida, right? But those kids are now taking these paydays, man. and they're going to an Ohio State. They're going to a Michigan. Like they're doing things that typically in the 90s and 2000s and the 2010 they would not do. Right? So you have to be able to understand that that happens. Like Jeremiah Smith, Heisman Trophy candidate. He's from Hollywood, Florida. Hollywood, Florida. He go to Ohio State. Now, most of you have, most of you done been to South Beach. I bet 90% of you have never even probably been to Ohio, let alone Columbus, Ohio. What would make a kid from South Florida leave of South Florida and go to Ohio State? Money. Money. So, the thing is, man, NIL, while it has its benefits, and I love seeing these college guys get paid, it does not make recruiting easier for the majority of schools. It has helped Miami be able to attract back to back years two top flight quarterbacks. They have the money to be able to do so. It will help Texas. Texas has all the money in the world. Think about it. They was paying Arch Manning over $3-4 million last year to be a backup. That's more than NFL backup quarterbacks get paid. This dude's a backup college quarterback. Now he's starting. He stink. He'll probably be in the portal next year. I say all that to say this. I love NIL for these college guys. I wish them nothing but the best. I do believe we need a commissioner in college football, however, in order for it to be regulated the right way. There has to be some sort of cap, right? Like a salary cap that needs to be implemented. If not, you're going to be looking at the same schools year in and year out that are competitive. Yeah, a Vanderbilt may pop every now and then, a Illinois, a Pitt. But just for the sake of consistency across the board, if you give all schools the same allotment of funds, you still have NIL where guys are getting paid. But it bangs back in that recruiting where guys build a relationship. That high school coach comes in your house, in your living room, talks to your parents, talks to them about how he's going to make you a better man. Whereas though now, they send a Louis bag with cash in it. And whoever sends you the most cash, that's where you go. That's where you go. So, thanks for checking it out, man. Thanks for tuning in. Again, I appreciate all the love, man. I really do. This means a lot. Make sure if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. But not only that, man, if you have subscribed and you have listened to the content and you've liked the content, and it's not gonna, I have more and more and more, man. We're gonna talk about Aisha Curry's comments here in the next couple of days. I'm not feeling what she got going on, and apparently my girl Lotto is pregnant, and I'm definitely hurt because it ain't mine. So, appreciate y'all. Share the video, man. Shoot it over to your friends. Like, that means a lot. Goes a long way. And hey, once again, thanks for checking your boy out.